If you're like me, you don't exactly have a ton of time to shop for clothes. Ever order 3 sizes of the same shirt just hoping that one fits? Scroll, shop, add to your cart, and you still end up returning everything. That's why you should try Stitch Fix. My wife introduced me to Stitch Fix. Stitch Fix is great. It sends you a fix box with clothes that actually fit and make sense for your life. Work, weekends, whatever. Stitch Fix saves you time, you look great, and you don't even have to think about it. Stitch Fix is no risk, all style. Try it all on in the comfort of your home. Keep what works, send back the rest. Free shipping and returns always, and no subscription required. Plus, get a free try-on for your first fix. Get started today at StitchFix.com/podcast to get $20 off your first order, and Stitch Fix will waive your styling fee. That's StitchFix.com/podcast.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. You need the right person with the right background who can move your business forward. If I wanted candidates who match what I'm looking for, I'd trust Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other job sites. Give your job the best chance to be seen with Indeed's Sponsored Jobs. They help you stand out and hire quality candidates who can drive the results you need. Sponsored Jobs boosts your posts for quality candidates so you can reach the exact people you want faster. And it makes a big difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs because you reach a bigger pool of quality candidates. Join the 1.6 million companies that sponsor their jobs with Indeed. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results now with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/BWN. Just go to Indeed.com/BWN right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/BWN. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Do it the right way with Indeed.
And away we go, episode 1181 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. The NFL injury gods giveth, and the NFL injury gods taketh away. Washington Commanders quarterback Jayden Daniels' right hamstring injury that he suffered in the team's 44-22 loss at the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday is not serious. So good to hear that, but perhaps the Commanders' best defensive player this season, edge defender Dorance Armstrong, he now is done for the season due to a knee injury that he suffered in the game. An already bad Commanders defense now is even worse. That is a frightening thought. Hello and welcome to this Tuesday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. Coming up on the show, a lot for you on the Commanders off head coach Dan Quinn's day after the game press conference on Monday afternoon. Next segment, my thoughts and Quinn's thoughts on the state of the team season. Should the team be a seller regarding the 2025 NFL trade deadline, which is in just 2 weeks, Tuesday, November 4th at 4 p.m. Eastern. The following segment, reaction to the good news on Jayden Daniels and the bad news on Dorance Armstrong. And I will address the post on X from Daniels' mom, a post that has gone viral. I'll also get into what now for the Commanders at edge defender. The segment after that, analysis of the defense, including the big-time change that could be coming. Heck, in the case of the safety position, the change may have already started. There was something that happened on Sunday that's getting very little attention, but was potentially very significant. And then the segment after that, analysis of the offense, including how right guard Samuel Cosmi did in his 2025 season debut. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me, the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Lots of feedback on the Commanders off their loss at the Cowboys. Email from Ramesh in the United Kingdom. Writes Ramesh, "Hi Al, greetings from a regular listener in the UK. I wrote most of this email before the game at Dallas, which, not for the first time at that location, was an unmitigated disaster for the Skins. I finished off the email before the game was over, although in reality, the game was over even before Jayden left the game. This season, which started with such high expectations, the Skins were also clearly outmatched by the Packers and Falcons, losing in blowout fashion to both, regardless of what the final scores said. By comparison, the loss to the Bears was avoidable and inexcusable. The Dallas game made me wonder if Jack Del Rio was still calling the Skins defense. Of course, the record can be mostly explained by the significant number of injuries to key players, including our best player, Jayden, who has missed 2.5 games, as well as now the entire starting receiving core. What is more difficult to explain this season are the continued defensive struggles. Unless there is significant, i.e. miraculous improvement during the remainder of the season, Joe Witt Jr.'s position must be in question. Surely we have now passed the point where the players take the blame. Is it not a leader's role to take accountability when his defensive unit fails to perform to the standard required? Of course, complicating this is the fact that Witt and Quinn are joined in history and, I presume, defensive scheme. I know Witt likes to tell his players no capes, but in reality, that's because Jayden has to wear a cape every week if this team is going to be a contender. As playoff hopes start to slip away, I'm not looking forward to seeing the Skins get blown out by the Chiefs next week. Luckily, it is a Monday night game, which means it starts past midnight UK time, and this time I will not be staying up for that likely debacle. Thanks for a great podcast, and keep up the good work. Well, thank you very much for the email, Ramesh. Keep this in mind when comping Joe Witt Jr. to the Commanders' previous defensive coordinator, Jack Del Rio. Del Rio, during his time as Washington defensive coordinator, actually had multiple good defenses. Del Rio was Washington's defensive coordinator from January 2020 to November 2023. He got fired, as you may recall, on Black Friday 2023, the day after Thanksgiving. But here were Washington's rankings in the NFL in total defense per DVOA in each of Del Rio's 4 regular seasons as the team's defensive coordinator. 2020, number 4. 2021, number 27, 2022, number 7, and 2023, number 32, dead last in the NFL at the time of Del Rio's firing. But his 2020 and 2022 Washington defenses were very good. Del Rio at least presided over multiple good Washington defenses. Joe Witt has yet to preside over a good Washington defense. Email from Dennis Kemp in Laurel, Maryland on something that I said on Monday's show, episode 1179, writes Dennis L. The Marcellus Wallace basement reference in terms of what the Dallas offense did to the Commanders' defense was classic and very true. Thank you for that, Dennis. Email from Gene in Manassas, Virginia. Writes Gene, why doesn't Lattimore ever know where the ball is? He, by the third quarter, should have had 2 interceptions on underthrown passes. So thank you for that, Gene. Hey, if the Commanders' defense is good at one thing, it is at not getting takeaways. The Commanders, over 7 games in this regular season, have just 3 takeaways, an absurdly low total. Now, the New York Jets, over 7 games in this regular season, unbelievably have just 1 takeaway. But the Commanders have just 3. And, thinking about the Commanders and the Jets, what does each team have in common? A head coach with a defensive background, right? Dan Quinn with the Commanders, Aaron Glenn with the Jets. An NFL team having a head coach with a defensive background offers 0 guarantees about having a good defense. Email from Stanley Evans, right? Stanley. This season has been nothing like what most of us expected. Only the pessimists saw this coming. The vibes felt off from the start of training camp, especially with the McLaurin situation. Ironically, he has been a non-factor since he has barely been on the field. Now you've got people already calling Jayden a bust. I wouldn't go that far. He's still learning, and he hasn't had time to build real chemistry with backup receivers, but it is fair to wonder if he's injury-prone. This will be his 3rd time missing action, and your franchise QB can't make an impact from the sideline. Rivera set this team back more than we probably realized. 4 straight first-round misses who were supposed to be cornerstones. Harris, DQ, and AP are about to see the ugly side of this fan base because the honeymoon is over. We were supposed to be competing for the NFC this year, yet we look more like a bottom 3 team in the conference. It's a disappointing and shocking start to the season. There's still time to turn this around, but right now, DQs and the staff's words sound hollow. At this point, I don't want to hear about doing things differently. I want to see it. Actions speak louder than words. Thank you for the email, Stanley. It's a funny deal. The Commanders are 3-4, not 3-14, but the 3-4 feels like 3-14 with all of the injuries and with the horrible defense and with this overall feeling of so few things going right for the team this season. The exact opposite of last season, right? So many things fell right for the Commanders last season. So many things are falling wrong for the Commanders this season. And so one of 2 things is going to happen. Either this team is going to end up having a disappointing season, or this team is going to get its act together and rally to make the playoffs. Right now, the former seems much more likely than the latter. But remember this about Washington. It knows all about rallying to make the NFL playoffs, right? The 2005 regular season from 5-6 to 10-6 and a wild card spot. The 2007 regular season from 5-7 to 9-7 and a wild card spot. The 2012 regular season from 3-6 to 10-6 and an NFC East title. The 2015 regular season from 5-7 to 9-7 and an NFC East title. The 2020 regular season from 2-7 to 7-9 and an NFC East title. The hope was that the team was beyond having to rally to make the playoffs, that the team was good enough to be just good from the get-go and make the postseason comfortably, as was the case last regular season. But maybe this season is going to have to be like 2005 and 2007 and 2012 and 2015 and 2020. 3-4 is not some insurmountable hole, but like I said, it right now does feel a lot worse than 3-4. Hey, please consider subscribing to the podcast if you're not already doing that. Subscribing to the podcast costs nothing. Make sure that you never miss an episode and helps out the podcast a lot. And if you're already subscribing, thank you. There are two main points that I want to make about the state of the Washington Commanders season, for a team falling to 3-4 in the NFL's 2025 regular season with the 44-22 loss at the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday. Number one, the Commanders season is not over. I know that a lot of you believe that the team season is over, and if you feel that way, fine. You may well be proven right, but the team is 3-4, not, as I said last segment, 3-14, even though the team feels like it is 3-14, but the team has played just 7 of its 17 games in this regular season. 10 games are left. And the team is just 2 games behind the 5-2 Philadelphia Eagles for first place in the NFC East. This is the NFL, a week-to-week league in which there is constant change. Today's good team is tomorrow's bad team, and vice versa. Declaring the Commanders season done at 3-4 off a 2-game losing streak, no, I'm not doing that. And if you followed the NFL for more than 5 minutes, you should know that so much can change for the team over its next 10 games. So much can change for the team over its next 2 games. Now, all of that said, point number 2, if the Commanders lose their next 2 games going into the 2025 NFL trade deadline, General Manager Adam Peters absolutely should be open to being an aggressive seller regarding the deadline. And it is painful that I'm saying that because the idea was never for the Commanders this season to be a seller. But circumstances have changed and are changing. We'll see where we go here. But the 2025 NFL trade deadline is on Tuesday, November 4th at 4 p.m. Eastern. The Commanders have 2 games until then, at the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football this Monday night, October 27th at 8:15, and home to the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday Night Football on Sunday night, November 2nd at 8:20. Yes, each of our team's next 2 games is a primetime game. Aren't you thrilled? But if the Commanders lose each of those games and are at 3-6 come the trade deadline, then Adam Peters absolutely should be open to being an aggressive seller regarding that deadline because the team's realistic playoff hopes would have taken devastating blows, and the team is in need of more draft capital, and the team does have some intriguing trade chips. Quarterback Marcus Mariota, receiver Deebo Samuel Sr., tight end Zach Ertz, interior defensive lineman Daron Payne, edge defender Von Miller, all are very interesting and perhaps very viable trade chips to varying degrees and could help to replenish the Commanders' diminished draft capital. But let's hope that the Commanders win these next 2 games. How great would that be, going from 3-4 to 5-4 via 2 primetime wins? But the Commanders have a lot of problems right now. Yes, the team has been walloped by injury, but also, yes, the team isn't playing well. We on Monday afternoon had Commanders head coach Dan Quinn's day after the game press conference. This was the opening statement of the presser.
All right. I'll get started with everybody, and I kind of fill you in a little bit about what I also spoke with the team. But right now, where I feel the only thing consistent right now has been our inconsistency. told the team a message about some of our Navy SEAL friends and diving or sailing with no GPS and no landmarks. The three things you need to know are where are you going, and what bearings you're needed. And just 3 degrees, 2 or 3 degrees off, and you're off course. And I said, that's where we are today. We're off course. Doing hard shit with good people isn't a slogan, but like absolutely like how we live. And so told them we're in hard shit right now, and we'll find out a lot about our team in these weeks ahead. So we need everyone to step up, coaches and players. That's our jobs. When I see turnovers or penalties or drops or missed tackles, when you hit a rash of injuries, those are the things that we should and must be able to count on, and hit that with the staff today, and that's disappointing to us. So our focus needs to be sharper. That's the bare minimum, and we're going to dig in to find out how we improve upon that. So that is our focus, the focus itself, to make sure like eliminate things if we need to be sharper and cleaner of how we play. But one thing I do know, we'll also make the choice to absolutely go for it. Not going to be easy, but we're not staying in this space either, you guys. So our identity has not come together. And these next 4 games until our bye, we got a lot of work to do to help create that. But the inconsistency is the thing that, man, we're gonna hammer this out, and we're gonna get there. But it's frustrating, and that's where we're at today. So lots to work on. I told the team we had last night 8 days to our next game. We got a lot of work to do. So that's where I'm at, and I'll get started with you guys.
All right, a powerful opening statement by Dan Quinn for his day after the game press conference on Monday afternoon. A powerful opening statement with some naughty talk by Dan Quinn. Monday, a Tell the Truth Monday, as Quinn likes to call the Mondays after Sunday games. And some truth was being spoken. And speaking of speaking truth, we on Monday afternoon had this exchange between David Aldridge of The Athletic and Dan Quinn.
Coach, I ask coaches this in all sports from time to time when you go through a rough patch. I know your family's going to tell you the truth about things, but from a work standpoint, who tells you the truth on a regular basis?
You need it. And certainly I count on, the partner I'm in it with first is Adam. But where we're at, we spend a lot of time together talking about the team. And when it's the most quiet for a coach, that's the person you have to lean on the most. Not a lot of people coming in the office after days like that, and so going through it, saying the tough things, those are the things that I need to hear, and so I'm thankful that he does that.
Yeah, wouldn't you love to know the nature of the conversations between Adam Peters and Dan Quinn over the last 48 hours? So the Commanders are at least a game below 500 in a regular season for the first time since improving to 1-1 last regular season. This is territory that we are not used to the team being in with Dan Quinn as head coach. We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between 7 News DC sports director Scott Abraham and Dan Quinn.
Dan, since you've arrived in Washington, you've preached brotherhood, you've preached culture. And in these challenging times when adversity hits, how do you lean on that established culture in these moments?
Yeah, it's good because the leading and the brotherhood during the successful times, that's easy to do, Scott, and so it is now on these times that you can have, kind of like David was referring to earlier, the honest conversations about where we're at. And so when I talk to the team, I'm, brutally honest about where we're at and saying even today, like, we're off course and we have to get back on, and this is how we're going to go about doing it. So I do lean into it. We've got some fantastic leaders. I'll also lean in with them. And like I said, it's not easy, but it will be done. It's just a matter of us being more consistent. And it's not a sexy word or a great topic, but it's really important for us to be able to do that. And I'm certain we'll get there, but it's not just something that you just talk about and it gets done. Like, we've got to put the work out on the practice field to do that.
Yes, you do. My wife and I have an 8-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter. Many of you know what that's like. So when we want to do something special for dinner, we still eat in, but we eat in with Omaha Steaks. Omaha Steaks food is so good and appeals to people of all ages, from handcrafted steaks to delicious fall favorites. Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience. Enjoy USDA-certified tender steaks, juicy burgers, chicken, pork, seafood, plus tailgating favorites like chicken wings, smash burgers, and big deli-style franks. The food is outstanding. I can't tell you how much my son loves those franks. And right now, during Omaha Steaks' semi-annual sale, you get 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, you get an extra $35 off with the promo code ALGALDI at checkout. Omaha Steaks offers unrivaled quality and variety, and every bite is backed by a 100% guarantee. Omaha Steaks is a family-owned company that has been America's original butcher since 1917. Yeah, over 100 years of expertise in the meat industry. Bring home the legendary flavor and everyday convenience of Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during Omaha Steaks' semi-annual sale, and for an extra $35 off, use the promo code ALGALDI at checkout. Using that promo code helps out this podcast a lot, so thank you in advance. The promo code is simply my name, ALGALDI. That's 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com and an extra $35 off with the promo code ALGALDI at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. Few things in your home are as important as the mattress on which you sleep. Avocado Green Mattress is next level. Avocado Green mattresses are certified organic mattresses that deliver luxurious comfort, ergonomic back support, and naturally cool sleep. 3 comfort options: firm, medium, or plush. What does comfort mean to you? For me, comfort is sleeping cool. No tossing, no turning, just deep, refreshing rest. Avocado mattresses are built for your comfort. They're handcrafted from the finest natural organic ingredients for superior durability and are designed to last. Unlike mattresses with low-quality memory foam, those mattresses break down in a matter of years. And for those of you with back problems, Avocado mattresses feature thousands of steel coils individually encased in fabric pockets that flex independently to reduce motion transfer and support your body where it needs it most. You'll feel just as good getting into bed as you do getting out of bed. Also, Avocado offers up to 1-year sleep trials and generous warranties for your peace of mind. Head to avocadogreenmattress.com today and check out Avocado's mattress and bedding sale. Avocado, dream of better.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. You need the right person with the right background who can move your business forward. If I wanted candidates who match what I'm looking for, I'd trust Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other job sites. Give your job the best chance to be seen with Indeed's Sponsored Jobs. They help you stand out and hire quality candidates who can drive the results you need. Sponsored Jobs boosts your post for quality candidates so you can reach the exact people you want faster. And it makes a big difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs because you reach a bigger pool of quality candidates. Join the 1.6 million companies that sponsor their jobs with Indeed. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results now with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/BWN. Just go to Indeed.com/BWN right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/BWN. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Do it the right way with Indeed.
Well, there were 2 big injury items on which we awaited news from Washington Commanders head coach Dan Quinn during his day after the game press conference on Monday afternoon off the 44-22 loss at the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday. And we ended up getting good news and bad news. The good news is that quarterback Jayden Daniels' right hamstring injury that he suffered in the loss at the Cowboys is not serious. So though the injury could prevent him from playing in the Commanders game at the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football this Monday night at 8:15. The bad news is that edge defender Dorance Armstrong, one of the Commanders' best defensive players this season, is done for the season. This due to a knee injury that he suffered in the loss at the Cowboys. We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN and Dan Quinn.
Dan, can you fill us in on any MRI update on Jayden and then on Dorance Armstrong too?
Yeah, fill you in on both. So I want to start with the bad news. So DA, he's got a significant injury. It's going to knock him out. And so that's hard, when he's really coming on like he has. So I had a chance to visit with him today, and that's a hard one for us. And I'm just bummed for him because I thought he was really starting to make his mark, John, in that way. Jayden had an MRI on his hamstring today. Good news, not significant or long term. But I don't know the status for Monday night just yet. I'll have a better sense as I get closer to it. With the extra day and what that looks like. But the good news came back that not a long-term thing, but I just can't answer tonight where I'm at with the game, with it being Monday. So I'll have a better feel for you guys when we get to Thursday. So this week it's pushed back with Monday, so Thursday will be like a Wednesday and on down the week. So I'll give you a better sense for that.
All right, so good to hear what we heard about Jayden Daniels. Bad to hear what we heard about Dorance Armstrong. More on him in a bit. A second injury for Jayden Daniels in this regular season, right? He missed 2 games due to a left knee injury that he suffered in the Commanders' 27-18 loss at the Green Bay Packers on Thursday Night Football on September 11th. We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between Commanders insider J.P. Finley of NBC4 and Dan Quinn.
Hey, Dan, not even specific to the hamstring because it seems like maybe this is going to be okay, big picture. But for Jayden, ideally this is the franchise cornerstone for the next 10, 15 years. And just in the last month, knee, then hammy. What, if any, overall level of concern is there for you? Do you try to talk to him about?
Yeah, we talk a lot, JP, honestly, all the way through. So I didn't sense this was, something that, he's had before or that's come up for him before. We're just going to stay consistent, man, about how we go about things and the way we train. And certainly for him, too, I thought there was definitely steps forward from the time that he missed going into the game, when to throw away, when to stay alive, to go. And so me seeing that improvement already, JP, I'm pleased with that. So using his legs is part of his game, but remaining a passer before getting outside the pocket to run, that's something that we're going to continue to work on for sure.
So, did you see what Jayden Daniels' mom, Regina Jackson, posted on X on Sunday night? At Lovely Ms. Jackson on X. At Lovely MZ Jackson on X. She posted, quote, "I wish you would stop manifesting RG3 on my son. Words are powerful, and that's all that's talked about." End quote. So Mama Daniels, clearly not happy with people on X comping her son with former Redskins quarterback Robert Griffin III, who, like Daniels, was taken by Washington with the number 2 overall pick in an NFL draft off a Heisman Trophy winning season, and like Daniels, had an all-time great rookie season, and then Griffin, for multiple reasons, including injuries, completely flamed out. Jayden Daniels is not RG3 for many reasons. We have dealt with this before. And honestly, I think that Mama Daniels would be better served to not even acknowledge the RG3 comps. They are dumb. They are low IQ. They are likely the work of social media trolls, people who aren't even Commanders fans. Her posting what she posted only breathes life into and offers encouragement to the people making these comps. I know that it's easier said than done, and this is her son who people are talking about. I get that. But my advice to her, not that she's soliciting my advice, but my advice to her would be just ignore what's being said. Don't spotlight it by writing a post like that. That post from her has gone viral, has gotten a lot of attention. I get where she's coming from, but don't give the RG3 comps the oxygen that those comps don't deserve. Anyway, the advanced stats for Jayden Daniels and the Commanders' QB2 Marcus Mariota in the loss at the Cowboys are in. Daniels played on 69% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. Mariota played on 31% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. You look at ESPN's total QBR as of games through Sunday. Daniels 45.7. That is below average. QBR is on a scale of 0 to 100. Mariota 7.4. He for the game had a total QBR of 7.4. That is atrocious. Expected points added per play per RBSDM.com. Daniels minus 0.09. Mariota minus 0.55. That's really bad. Now, I don't want to read too much from Mariota's advanced stats. He got thrown into a bad spot, but he did not play well other than 2 nice read option runs. You know, Mariota does run the read option well. You could argue that he runs it better than Daniels right now. Daniels' read option runs continue to be underwhelming. His scrambles are good, but his read option runs lately have not been especially good. As for Dorance Armstrong, just terrible news, awful news. Armstrong in the loss at the Cowboys played on just 6% of the Commanders' defensive snaps, a total of just 4 defensive snaps. He for the game was questionable due to a hamstring injury, and he left the game in the first quarter due to a knee injury. And he now is done for the season. You feel bad for him. He was having such a good season. He, for this regular season, is number 1 on the Commanders in sacks at 5.5. And the team now is depleted big time at edge defender, where the team wasn't exactly overflowing with strength to begin with. But the team already has 3 notable edge defenders on the reserve/injured list. Dietrich Wise Jr. has been on the reserve/injured list since September 15th. This due to a quadriceps injury. Javonte Jean-Baptiste has been on the reserve/injured list since October 1st. This due to a torn pectoral muscle. And Drake Jackson has been on the reserve/injured list since last Thursday, October 16th. The team, the previous day, October 15th, announced having signed Jackson as an unrestricted free agent. He suffered a torn patellar tendon in a knee in October 2023. His recovery has been slow and lengthy, so the team putting him on the reserve/injured list was a reported pre-planned move. But Dietrich Wise, Javonte Jean-Baptiste, and Drake Jackson already are on the reserve/injured list, and they'll soon be joined by Dorance Armstrong. We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between Commanders insider Nikki Javala of The Athletic and Dan Quinn.
Dan, do you have a plan yet of how you want to fill that role with Dorance? I mean, to lose 3 defensive ends, I mean, kind of what has that been like for the line, and do you have a plan to kind of fill that yet?
Not yet. Nikki, Adam and I are going to visit right after we're done here and kind of put the next steps in order of what that looks like. It'll likely be, some combination of, like we did in the game, some other guys moving out to play on some early downs. But one thing I know from Adam and his team, though, we're also going to look and see, what other options are available for that. But yeah, it's a big deal for us. So we're trying to dig into that, but we haven't explored what it looks like just yet.
It just is so frustrating, right? The Commanders this season are getting hammered by injury. And look, this is how the NFL works, right? Last season, the team enjoyed great injury luck. This season, the team is enjoying poor injury luck. We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between 7 News DC sports director Scott Abraham and Dan Quinn.
Dan, with these injuries mounting, as the head coach, you feel what?
Well, I think coming through the first thing, there's like 2 sides to it, Scott. There's one that I think about opportunity on some, when there's moments there. The second thing is, how do I replace some of those reps? Like when a starter goes out, there's a lot of practice time and reps involved with that. And so when this opportunity comes for the second person, you're trying to speed up that process for them to make sure their techniques, their communications are on point and to the right space. So that's where my head goes to get someone ready. How do we fast track them to get them the information, the looks that they need to be really ready to go compete? And so that's where it goes. I think about the player, whether it's short term or long term. And if it's long term, knowing that's a tough spot for them. They got a road ahead that's not that easy. And then on the short term, we lean into the medical side, knowing that they're going to be back. So yeah, it's a good question, man. It's different emotions based on how long they're out. And then my thought goes to the the person that's taken on more in the role, how do we get them most ready fastest?
Well, you got to wonder, is another acquisition of some kind coming for the Commanders at edge defender? Commanders edge defenders in the loss at the Cowboys did do some good things. Jacob Barton played on 78% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. He had 3 quarterback hits, including half of a sack. Preston Smith played on 39% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. He, for the game, had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 79.6. And Von Miller played on 39% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. He, for this regular season, is number 2 on the Commanders in sacks with 4. The Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. It has been a Washington, D.C. institution for decades. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers, and schedule a no-obligation appointment. Call 202-902-7611 or visit WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. Founded in 1979, the Nace Law Group offers fierce advocacy on behalf of medical malpractice, birth injury, and personal injury victims. Led by the great Chris Nace, the Nace Law Group is focused on providing exceptional care and counsel for those who need such things the most. The Nace Law Group fights for what it believes in, you, your family, and your future. You with the Nace Law Group have an experienced advocate on your side. The Nace Law Group has secured millions of dollars in verdict and settlement amounts for clients to better enable them to care for themselves and their families. Call 202-902-7611 or visit WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. That's 202-902-7611 or WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com, and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. The Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. More now on the Washington Commanders defense off the 44-22 loss at the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday and off head coach Dan Quinn's day after the game press conference on Monday afternoon. We last segment talked about the Commanders at edge defender with Dorance Armstrong being done for the season, how the team manages at edge defender moving forward given how injury ravaged the team is at edge defender is a big question. Also a big question is the secondary. What is going on? Why can't this secondary get right? Take a listen to the overall grades per Pro Football Focus for the Commanders' top 3 cornerbacks in the loss at the Cowboys. Trey Amos played on 93% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. He, for the game, had an overall grade per PFF of just 49.1. Marshawn Lattimore played on 82% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. He, for the game, had an overall grade per PFF of just 29.2. That is atrocious. He had the 2 defensive pass interference penalties, so the first of which was questionable, but still, it got called. And Mikey Sanderstill played on 67% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. He, for the game, had an overall grade per PFF of just 48.1. Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott on Sunday, of course, had his way with the Commanders' pass defense. So the cornerbacks were a big-time reason why. They got worked by receivers CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. So Lamb and Pickens combined for 9 receptions for 192 yards and a touchdown on 14 targets. We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between Commanders insider J.P. Finley of NBC4 and Dan Quinn.
With the explosives in the pass defense, yesterday you were understandably frustrated, but now that you've watched it, I get that it's inconsistencies, but have you noticed maybe the same thing happening on those plays?
Yeah, if it was, that would be much easier to say, all right, this one specific thing. Like I thought yesterday the tackling was better. I didn't like it what it looked like against Chicago, and that part of our game was better. But to allow, a 70-yard explosive play, like those are things, man, we just can't have. And so those are the ones that, like, okay, when I talk about, all right, do we take less? Are we doing less? Like, all that's on the table to make sure that if they beat us on a good play, man, everybody can live with that. That's pro ball, but nothing that, is something from a technique standpoint that we can prevent.
So Dan Quinn, during his post-game press conference on Sunday night, said of the Commanders' reeling defense, quote, "We're going to look at everything," end quote. What was meant by everything. No, I'm not expecting Quinn to fire defensive coordinator Joe Witt Jr., but could Quinn strip Witt of defensive play calling duties or major playing time changes coming? We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN and Dan Quinn.
When you talked about looking at everything to help the defense, right? So when you're looking at that, how do you parcel out like coaching issues, coaching mistakes versus player mistakes if the same things oftentimes keep happening?
Yeah, I think it's that's what and it's ongoing. It's tonight, it's through the next few days to get there. From a philosophy standpoint, if there's a certain issue that can keep coming up, it's time for that call to change all the way, John. So more often than not, it gets simpler as you go to make sure you can nail the things that you need to nail. So that's generally been the best course of action, to tighten some things up to make sure it doesn't come up and hit you again. But it's ongoing as we're starting that process, and we'll dig into that hard tonight before we begin our preparation into Kansas City tonight. And the morning is really spent on us.
Well, also with Commanders cornerbacks in the loss at the Cowboys, Jonathan Jones played on 18% of the Commanders' defensive snaps in his return from the reserve/injured list, which he was on from September 17th to this past Saturday, October 18th. This due to a hamstring injury. The Commanders on Saturday afternoon announced having activated Jones. Noah Igbenogany played on just 6% of the Commanders' defensive snaps, a total of just 4 defensive snaps, and Antonio Hamilton Sr. did not play on any of the Commanders' defensive snaps, but did play on special teams. When we talk about potential changes for the defense, change in the secondary is what most comes to mind. But the team very much seems, or at least has seemed, to believe that its top 3 cornerbacks by a wide margin are Marshawn Lattimore, Mikey Sainristil, and Trey Amos in some order. By the way, Dan Quinn on Monday afternoon did not sound like a head coach who was about to bench or even lessen the playing time of Marshawn Lattimore. Take a listen to this exchange between Commanders insider Howard Fenrich of the Associated Press and Quinn.
I wanted to ask you about Marshawn Lattimore and whether there's a particular issue you see with him and if there's any possibility that it could benefit him and or the team if either his playing time changed or his role changed at all.
Yeah, I thought the first PI at the end, just playing back towards it, and he knows that. And I think it might have been the first drive, Howard, to go. Part of playing corner is, like life outside, throwing the ball, high and outside. And so knowing the right techniques and how to play that. But he'll get there, man. There's plenty of them that also went really good in that space too, Howard, for him. So this is not a one coach, one player meetings that we're on tonight. Is how to collectively do we do our thing better. And so that's what I've been digging in on hard. It's a challenge, but it's also fun as hell to go through, to say, all right, how do we find us at our best, and putting people in the right spots and digging in there as a coach and as the players too. What more can they hit on to meet the standards that we've set for ourselves. So I kind of think of it as this big collective thing to say, all right, how are we going to do our parts better?
Yeah, that to me sounded like a Dan Quinn who is sticking with Marshawn Lattimore, but we'll see. Commander safeties in the loss at the Cowboys. So here's something interesting. Quan Martin, he played on just 60% of the Commanders' defensive snaps, just the 3rd most defensive snaps among Commander safeties in the game. This is a guy who had been routinely playing on, 95 to 100% of the team's defensive snaps. He, as best as we could tell, did not get hurt in the game. If he did, then that would explain the decreased playing time, but the Commanders usually announce in-game injuries. The team during the game did not announce anything with Martin. He has had a very uneven season. He in this game played on just 60% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. So Jeremy Reeves played on 87% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. Darnell Savage played on 69% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. Percy Butler played on just 3% of the Commanders' defensive snaps, a total of just 2 defensive snaps. Tyler Owens did not play on any of the Commanders' defensive snaps, but did play on special teams. And Will Harris is on the reserve/injured list, on which he was placed on September 22nd, this due to a fractured fibula. And so what about the Commanders' secondary, which has been the biggest culprit in the team's bad defense? We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between Commanders insider Nikki Zavala of The Athletic and Dan Quinn.
On the back end of the defense, I know you basically said after the game that all things are on the table as you sort of dig into it. But has there been any consideration to make any personnel changes on the back end or anywhere else on the defense?
Yeah, we'll look, like I said, tonight we're really digging in on some more to find it, Nikki, and see, what changes could be there for us. But before I get into, I want to go through everything and take all the information and then make our decisions from there. So, but I am looking for more consistency, that's for sure.
All right. Also with the Commanders' defense in the loss at the Cowboys, the linebackers, so you wonder if change might be coming there in some form. Bobby Wagner played on 90% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. Frankie Louvu, 90%. Jordan McGee, 33%. Nick Bellore, 10%. Ale Cajo was a healthy and active. Kane Madrano was a healthy and active. Would say more Jordan McGee and less Bobby Wagner make a difference. Wagner does continue to grade out well. He, for the game, had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 75.6, but he has become a massive liability in pass coverage. Take a listen to these stats per Sport Radar for quarterbacks when throwing against Bobby Wagner in pass coverage in this regular season. 16 for 21 for 213 yards, a touchdown, and no interceptions. 16 for 21 for 213. That works out to a yards per pass attempt of 10.14. A bright spot for the Commanders' defense continues to be interior defensive lineman Daron Payne. He is having some season. Payne, in the loss at the Cowboys, played on 54% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. He, for the game, had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 90.8. That is spectacular. PFF grades are on a scale of 0 to 100. 60 is average. Payne had a tackle for loss for a safety, a quarterback hit, and 3 pass defenses. Also with Commanders' interior defensive linemen in the loss at the Cowboys, Javon Kinlaw played on 52% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. Eddie Goldman returned from a one-game absence caused by illness. He played on 46% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. Sheldon Day played on 42% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. The Commanders on Saturday afternoon announced having elevated day from the practice squad for this game, and Johnny Newton played on 39% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. If you're like me, you don't exactly have a ton of time to shop for clothes. Ever order 3 sizes of the same shirt, just hoping that one fits? Scroll, shop, add to your cart, and you still end up returning everything. That's why you should try Stitch Fix. My wife introduced me to Stitch Fix. Stitch Fix is great. It sends you a fix box with clothes that actually fit and make sense for your life. Work, weekends, whatever. Stitch Fix saves you time, you look great, and you don't even have to think about it. Stitch Fix is no risk, all style. Try it all on in the comfort of your home. Keep what works, send back the rest. Free shipping and returns always, and no subscription required. Plus, get a free try-on for your first fix. Get started today at stitchfix.com/podcast to get $20 off your first order, and Stitch Fix will waive your styling fee. That's stitchfix.com/podcast. Well, if you're like me, you care about your car, but you're not the biggest fan of having to get work done on your car. This is where Rhoda comes in. Rhoda is a DMV-based auto shop that makes taking care of your car so easy, it feels like magic. Rhoda has a team of best-in-the-business technicians who can service any make and model across any maintenance or repairs and detailing. With over 1,000 Google reviews, Best Auto Shop on Yelp, and Nextdoor awards, your neighbors are loving Rhoda, and you will too. Rhoda is tremendous. You can book any car service online in under 3 minutes. Rhoda offers free towing or valet. Rhoda literally will pick up your car and bring it to the shop in Rockville, Maryland, service the car, and return it to you. Over 80% of Rhoda services are done on the same day on which they're booked. Rhoda offers price matching, honest flat pricing, and financing. Rhoda offers free inspections on your car and shares everything found via video and pictures. Drivers approve only what they want to. Visit Rhoda.com, that's RODA.com, and use the promo code GALDI20 for 20% off any service. That's Rhoda.com, promo code GALDI20 for 20% off any service. More now on the Washington Commanders off their 44-22 loss at the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday and off head coach Dan Quinn's day after the game press conference on Monday afternoon. Let's talk Commanders offense beyond quarterback. So some actual good injury news for this team beyond the Jayden Daniels injury news on Monday afternoon. Right guard Samuel Cosmi is back. The Commanders this past Saturday afternoon announced having activated Cosmi off the reserve/physically unable to perform list. He had been on that since August 26th. This due to a torn right ACL that he suffered in the Commanders' 45-31 win at the Detroit Lions this past January 18th in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. So Cosmi was the Commanders' starting right guard on Sunday. He played on 96% of the team's offensive snaps. Andrew Wiley, who had been the Commanders' starting right guard for each of the previous 4 games, played on 4% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. So some starters did come out of the game late in the fourth quarter due to the blowout nature of the game. But good to have Sam Cosmi back. He did commit a 5-yard false start penalty, but otherwise seemed to play well. We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between David Aldridge of The Athletic and Dan Quinn.
Dan, how did Sam grade out and get through the game for you?
Yeah, good news. He made it through good. And going through that maybe like one mental error. So the spot for him to miss that much time and get back into it, I thought was good. He'll be the first to tell you there's going to be some things to clean up. I was going in expecting that, to make sure there's going to be some ones that you're not quite sure there. Most of those are in pass protection, just more reps, more time at it. But, man, it's good to have him back out there. That's a big deal for us.
All right, the Commanders starting offensive line in the loss at the Cowboys: Laramie Tunsil at left tackle, Chris Paul at left guard, Tyler Biadasz at center, Samuel Cosmi at right guard, and Josh Conerly Jr. at right tackle. Conerly, Biadasz, and Paul each played on 100% of the team's offensive snaps. Tunsil played on 96% of the team's offensive snaps. He, for the game, had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 78.3. Offensive tackle Trent Scott played on 9% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. Guard Nick Allegretti did not play on any of the Commanders' offensive snaps, but did play on special teams. A left guard, Brandon Coleman, for a 5th consecutive game, was a healthy and active. And offensive tackle George Fant was a healthy inactive. The offensive line does continue to commit too many penalties. The Commanders in the game totaled 11 accepted penalties for 118 yards. Commanders offensive linemen committed 4 penalties, including 3 accepted penalties. I mentioned the Cosmi penalty, 4th and 3 for the Commanders at their 46 with 11:46 left in the first quarter. Cosmi committed a 5-yard false start penalty, and Josh Conerly committed 3 penalties, 4th and 5 for the Commanders at the Cowboys 46 with 10:59 left in the second quarter. Conerly committed an offensive holding penalty that was declined. 2nd and 8 for the Commanders at their 12 with 6:47 left in the second quarter. Conerly committed a 5-yard false start penalty, and 3rd and 1 for the Commanders at the Cowboys 33 with 6:11 left in the third quarter. Conerly committed a 5-yard false start penalty. Commanders receivers in the loss at the Cowboys. The Commanders, of course, played this game without their top 3 receivers. Terry McLaurin, for a 4th consecutive game, was inactive due to a quadriceps injury. Deebo Samuel Sr. was inactive due to a heel injury, and Noah Brown missed a 5th consecutive game due to groin and knee injuries. The Commanders last Wednesday afternoon, October 15th, announced having placed Brown on the reserve/injured list. 4 Commanders receivers played on offense in this game. Chris Moore had 2 receptions for 59 yards on 5 targets and playing on 79% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. Jalen Lane had 3 receptions for 60 yards on 6 targets. He had a drop. He played on 69% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. Luke McCaffrey had no receptions on 2 targets and playing on 54% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. So even in a game in which the team was without each of its top 3 receivers, McCaffrey had no catches. And Robbie Chosen had 4 receptions for 36 yards on 4 targets and playing on 49% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. So the team on Saturday afternoon announced having elevated Chosen from the practice squad for this game. Commanders tight ends in the loss at the Cowboys. Zach Ertz played despite being questionable for the game due to shoulder and calf injuries. He had 3 receptions for 37 yards and a touchdown on 7 targets. He had a drop. He played on 67% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. John Bates had 1 reception for 5 yards on 2 targets and playing on 43% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. Ben Sinnott had no targets and playing on 30% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. And Colson Yankoff had no targets targets and playing on 6% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. And Commanders running backs in the loss at the Cowboys. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt had 13 carries for just 33 yards and had one reception from -1 yard on 2 targets and playing on 49% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. Chris Rodriguez Jr. had 3 carries for 12 yards and had no targets and playing on 13% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. Jeremy McNichols had 2 carries for 22 yards and had 2 receptions for 23 yards on 3 targets and playing on 36% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. McNichols had by far the best run by any Commanders back in this game. 2nd and 3 for the Commanders at the Cowboys 20 with 58 seconds left in the second quarter. McNichols had a 19-yard shotgun handoff run on which he forced multiple missed tackles and got out of bounds at the Cowboys 1. And among the missed tackles that he forced was him spinning out of an attempted tackle by linebacker Kenneth Murray Jr. That was some run by Jeremy McNichols. But look, the running game in this game, not good for the Commanders. Commanders skill position players who had carries in this game, Krosky-Merritt, Rodriguez, and McNichols, they combined for 18 carries for just 67 yards. And against the Cowboys defense that had been really bad against the run. Austin Eckler, of course, remains out. He's on the reserve/injured list. He's been on that since September 15th due to a torn Achilles. If you are a Commanders fan and you are on Instagram, make sure that you're following WSH on the Daily. The handle is at WSH on the Daily. WSH on the Daily provides outstanding daily Commanders coverage. The page is updated every day, always has a great fresh look. WSH on the Daily just started in 2021 and yet has 44,000 followers. You learn a lot by following WSH on the Daily. You are entertained quite a bit by following WSH on the Daily. If you're on Instagram, check out WSH on the Daily. The handle is at WSH on the Daily. And check out WSH on the Daily's online shop, WSHonthedaily.com. Some terrific gear, t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, hats, excellent materials, modern looks. So for smart, informative, fun, and engaging Commanders content, check out WSH on the Daily on Instagram. And for great merch, visit WSHonthedaily.com. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Wednesday show, episode 1182, will include a lot for you on the Washington Commanders. This will speak with Commanders analyst Mark Bullock of Bullock's Film Room on Substack. Also on Wednesday's show, in-depth preview of the Washington Wizards 2025-2026 regular season, as we'll chat with Wizards insider Chase Hughes of Monumental Sports Network. And on Wednesday's show, we'll discuss the Washington Capitals. The Caps are home to the Seattle Kraken Tuesday night at 7. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I'll talk to you on Wednesday.
The only thing consistent right now has been our inconsistency. Told the team a message about some of our Navy SEAL friends and diving or sailing with no GPS and no landmarks. The 3 things you need to know are where are you going, and what bearings you're needed. And just 2 or 3 degrees off, and you're off course. And that's where we are today. We're off course.
If you're a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility and your machinery isn't working right, Grainger knows you need to understand what's wrong as soon as possible. So when a conveyor motor falters, Grainger offers diagnostic tools like calibration kits and multimeters to help you identify and fix the problem. With Grainger, you can be confident you have everything you need to keep your facility running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.